an elderly woman opened her shed to a poor teen for the night. But she never imagined her yard would be packed with motorcycles the very next morning. Margaret, a 74-year-old widow, lived in a quiet house on the edge of town. Her days were simple: morning tea, gardening, feeding the birds, and evenings spent knitting while the old clock ticked steadily in her living room. Life wasn't exciting anymore, but it was peaceful. One chilly autumn evening, while she was locking the back door, she heard a faint shuffle near her shed. At first, she thought it was just a raccoon, but curiosity made her step outside. Her yard smelled of wet leaves, and the air carried the sharp bite of approaching winter. With her flashlight trembling in her hand, Margaret slowly pushed the shed door open, only to gasp. Inside, huddled in a corner on an old blanket, was a teenage boy. His clothes were ragged, his hair messy, and his shoes looked as if they had been worn through rainstorms and miles of walking. He clutched a small backpack to his chest like it was all he had in the world. "Please, don't call the police," he whispered, his voice shaking. Margaret's first instinct was fear. Who was this boy? Was he dangerous? She lived alone. She had to be careful. But when her flashlight caught his face, she saw something else. His eyes weren't hardened with crime. They were tired, lost, and filled with a kind of desperation she hadn't seen in years. "What are you doing here?" she asked softly. "I just needed a place to stay. Just for tonight," he replied. "I'll be gone by morning." Margaret stood in silence, her heart torn. The world had taught her to be cautious, to lock her doors, to never let strangers in. Yet something about the boy reminded her of her late grandson, the same look of loneliness, the same hunger for kindness. After a long pause, she said quietly, "It's cold tonight. You'll freeze out here. Stay in the shed if you must, but at least let me bring you a blanket and some food." The boy's eyes widened in shock. No one had shown him such compassion in a long time. That night, Margaret returned with a plate of warm stew, a slice of bread, and a thermos of tea. The boy hesitated, then accepted with trembling hands. "My name's Tyler," he finally said between bites. "I'm 17. Margaret nodded. "Margaret, you don't have to tell me your story if you don't want to." But Tyler did. Words spilled out of him as if he'd been holding them in for months. His father had passed away years ago. His mother had remarried a man who never wanted him, and soon he found himself pushed out, drifting from couch to couch, until finally, nowhere to go. "I don't want trouble," Tyler said. "I just needed one safe night." Margaret listened quietly, her heart breaking. She had lived through hardship too, losing her husband, raising children alone, knowing what it felt like to be invisible to the world. "You can stay here tonight," she told him gently. "We'll figure things out tomorrow." Margaret didn't sleep much that night. She kept thinking, was she foolish? Had she made a mistake? But when she peeked outside at dawn, she saw Tyler still curled up in the shed, fast asleep, the empty plate neatly placed by the door. She sighed with relief. Perhaps he really was just a boy who needed kindness. But by mid-morning, something unusual broke the calm. The low, thunderous growl of engines echoed down her quiet street. One motorcycle, then another, then 5, then 10. Within minutes, Margaret's entire front yard was rumbling with the sound of chrome, leather jackets, and roaring Harley-Davidsons. Neighbors peeked out from curtains, alarmed. Margaret stepped onto her porch, frozen. Why were dozens of bikers pulling into her yard? And then she saw Tyler step out of the shed. His eyes widened as the bikers dismounted. "Tyler!" one of them shouted, his deep voice cutting through the morning air. The biker who spoke was a broad-shouldered man with tattoos on his arms and a heavy leather jacket that read, "Iron Serpents." He walked straight toward Tyler and pulled him into a tight hug. "You're safe," the man said. "We've been looking everywhere for you." Margaret blinked in disbelief. "Looking for him? Who are you people?" The biker turned to her respectfully. "Ma'am, we're his family. Maybe not by blood, but by brotherhood. Tyler's dad rode with us. He was one of the best men we ever knew. When he passed, we promised to look after his boy. But Tyler disappeared a few months back. We've been searching for him ever since." Margaret's jaw dropped. She looked at Tyler, who had tears welling in his eyes. I didn't want to be a burden," Tyler admitted. "I thought you wouldn't want me." The leader shook his head firmly. "You're one of us, kid. Your dad was our brother, and that makes you family. Always." The bikers turned to Margaret, their engines still idling behind them. The leader nodded respectfully. "You gave him shelter when no one else would," he said. "You looked after him. That means you looked after all of us." Before Margaret could respond, the bikers began unloading supplies, boxes of groceries, firewood, and even repairing her broken fence. One biker knelt down and fixed the creaky porch steps she had struggled with for years. Within hours, her quiet little yard was transformed into a bustling scene of gratitude and brotherhood. Tyler stayed by Margaret's side, watching in awe as tough-looking men with tattoos and leather jackets treated the elderly woman with the utmost respect. "Thank you," Tyler whispered to her. "You didn't just give me a roof. You gave me back my family." Margaret's eyes misted. For years, she thought her quiet life was behind her, that she had nothing more to give the world. But with one act of kindness, she had changed a boy's life and found herself surrounded by unexpected family too. That evening, when the bikers finally prepared to leave, the leader handed Margaret a phone number. "Anytime you need anything, ma'am, you call us. You'll never be alone." As the roar of engines faded into the distance, Margaret stood on her porch with Tyler by her side, the sun setting behind them. For the first time in years, she didn't feel alone anymore. Sometimes, the smallest act, opening a shed to a stranger, creates the loudest echo. In Margaret's case, that echo filled her yard with motorcycles, gratitude, and a reminder that kindness never dies. It always comes back, louder than you expect.